Coming up on this episode of the Spiro Podcast.
Why did I not have my best month ever? Why have I felt like I've plateaued? Or even if you have had your best month ever, great, exciting. How do you make next month your best month ever?
Welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. With your hosts, Todd Kivimaki and Craig Magro.
Hi, and welcome to the Spiro Podcast, managing your real estate photography and videography business. Spiro, we say it each week. Of course, if you're a new listener, you don't know that we say this every week, but Spiro is a software platform. It's designed to help you manage your day-to-day real estate media business and ultimately to help it grow and scale as well. Welcome back for those of you that have been watching or listening on an ongoing basis. For those of you that might be new to the podcast, we welcome you. I'm Craig Magrum, host of the podcast, and this whole podcast idea is to help you build a strong real estate media business. We've said it in the past, but there's lots of incredible resources out there for you on the creative side of what we do as real estate photographers and videographers, equipment suggestions, style techniques, things like that. But we really want to help you build just a strong business model, a strong business foundation to help you ultimately scale your business up and make this a lifelong, career-long endeavor for you that you really enjoy doing. So welcome to the podcast. Our owner and founder, co-host of the podcast, Todd Kivimaki. Welcome back, Todd.
Craig, it's a great week here. Great to be on with you all. We say we're always excited. We say, but you and I had some great conversation before we even started the podcast. We're like, hey, let's just do this online. So This is a good one to think about this week. Again, our goal here is to get you to think about turning your love of what you're doing right now into a business. And honestly, if it's real estate photography or anything else, our niche is real estate photography, but I'm using a lot of these same techniques with other businesses that I've started. So business is business. We're trying to give you some of that now. We're trying to get you a little bit uncomfortable. So excuse us for that, to push you further along to get your goals.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Like Todd just said, we were having just a really good discussion before we started recording. And I thought, you know what? I used to work in radio, Todd, a long time ago. And when we would have guests on the air, sometimes we'd be tempted to start having just a really good off-air discussion and then realize, hey, now we have to kind of recreate that discussion on the air. And so I told Todd, I said, you know what, let's save this for the actual recording. But I find it easy to talk about, Todd, because I really enjoy what I do now. Having kind of almost stumbled into this career in industry, it's just easy to talk about. And I can look a client in the eye and say, I really love what I do. And clients, I know this is a little off topic, but clients will respond to that. If you truly enjoy your work, they will notice that and they'll want you as a partner because they know that you're going to bat for them because you really love what you do and you want to do the best job you can. So I would encourage you to take some time, whenever you're watching or listening to this, think about, why do you love what you do? And just kind of maybe write some thoughts down about that and just think about it. And you can then share that with your clients, new clients, prospects, and that kind of energy they will respond to. I wasn't planning on saying that, but I just thought I'd start that off.
Being grateful for things in your day is an amazing thing to start your day with. I just started doing that. I did my devotion this morning was to think about what I'm grateful for. I'm getting these Tony Robbins ads right now. He has this 10 to 15 minute routine. It's got some breathing in it. It's got the idea of gratitude in it. I think whenever I'm feeling really angry or bad or something about Todd and I'm focused on myself, I've learned that I just have to focus on what I'm grateful for and who can I help? Why are you focused so much on yourself, Todd, right now? Why is this such a big deal to you? Go focus on someone else.
Yeah. Yeah. I've admittedly the past probably 6 months, I've kind of fallen into that trap and realizing that the other day I jumped in a Facebook group that I haven't posted in a long time and just got my focus off myself and tried to encourage others in that group. So anyway.
Love that.
Good way to start. Let's talk about real quick, Todd, what's going on with Spiro? What are the updates?
Yeah, really quickly here. So we are about a month away from our next launch. So early September of 2025, we will launch with Titus property website, mobile optimization. It's not going to be an app. It's going to feel just like an app. It's going to be optimized to the way you all are using it on the road and on your phone in the road. So that is coming. A few other goodies as well. Wanted to quickly switch here and then get to the topic of look at your calendars, invest in your business. There's 2 conferences. They're fabulous. The Rep Conference, that's Eli Jones and the team. I will be out there. I'm having the pleasure of being the host of the conference this year. So my team is going to be there. Jess and Steve will be there. Shannon will be there. So we're going to be there. Come and spend some time with us. That is early November. We'll post the links below. Then also PMRE is 2 weeks later. The Spiro team, we will be there. Would love to connect with you at either of those or both of those. And, if you're like, which one do I pick? I love them both. I'm going to pick one for you just because you've asked me. Well, nobody really asked me. I'm kind of just bantering with myself, but pick the Rep Conference. That's my favorite. That's where I'm at. Just to be transparent, I coach in Orbit. That's part of Rep. PMRE is great as well. It's a different conference. Read both websites. See which one you think you'll enjoy more. And, worst case, if you can't pick, come to both.
There you go. You'll get something different out of both of those in a good way.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Excellent. Well, shall we dive in, Todd?
Yeah, let's do this, Craig.
All right. So the month of July, unexpectedly, at least to me, Todd, I don't know if it was for you, Wow Video Tours, our real estate media company, we had please understand, guys, this is not to brag, okay? There's a purpose in sharing this, and it's going to be a great topic that Todd even has me thinking on this. But we had the best month historically we've ever had in the history of Wow Video Tours. It was amazing and to me unexpected. I took vacation during the month of July expecting it to be down around the 4th of July because it always has been, right? And it ended up being that we were just as busy as, and if not more than we usually are. And the question is, Todd, is that accidental? Or was there a method to getting to that point?
Yeah. So we're going to dive into that. Just to give you some figures, this is year 22 of WOW. And June of 2025 was our best month ever. July has a holiday. It still had 4 full weeks afterwards. That was a little bit of an asterisk there that we knew we had a chance. July was up 19% in revenue over June. Like, just incredible. No, I'm sorry, 19% over last June or
last July.
Last July. Okay.
Got it.
So we bested June, but we were up 19% over last July to give you an idea. And the cool thing that we're seeing a trend right now, and I don't think it's by luck because of some of the things that we'll get to that I'll talk about some of these methods, but we are doing less shoots to make more money, which naturally means our AOV or our average order value is going up. If you don't know what these figures are, you're like, Todd, what are these? That's okay. You have to start somewhere. I hired Shannon Landers as our head of sales many years ago. And she's like, Todd, what's your AOV? I was like, I have no clue. I thought she was calling me a bad name. And we figured it out. It was 158 at the time, 158, which is not that healthy, but that was a long time ago. We made it work, but understanding what it was the first step. If you use Spiro, there's a beautiful dashboard with metrics that show you all of these. In fact, I'm looking at these right now, and I know what these numbers are. I've done no calculation, and it's up right in front of me. So just wanted to set that up to tell you about how the numbers look in a July versus a June and a year over year last July. So Craig, you asked, were those numbers, was that result, was it luck? Was it accident or was it intentional? And I'll have to say, to be transparent, there's always a little bit of luck involved in everything we do. Sometimes it's good and sometimes it's bad. like I said, the asterisk point in this was, even though we had the July 4th holiday, there were still almost 4 full weeks of business days. That's something that we always look at, is how many business days are in the month. So the month ended on a Thursday. So we almost got another 20 business days in the month. So we understood that. We knew the month could be big. And there was a couple of factors in the market that came together. Days on market are increasing. That's good for us. Shannon talked about that a couple podcasts ago. But we are very strategic and we're very consistent in what we do. We have a sales team. We have Steve, our head of sales and marketing, Chris, our director of sales, and then we have a fabulous sales team that focuses on building relationships. And we have looked at what we've done, we've perfected it, we've broken it, and we've changed it many times over the years. But we are intentional about getting those numbers, and we look to achieve those goals.
So it's a mentality of a system versus techniques, like individual techniques. Like, I'm going to try this method and do that until it doesn't work, and then I'm going to try this method. Is that accurate?
It is. And, the idea of kind of technique jumping is something that I find that I can do at times. I mean, Craig, there's so much out there.
Mm-hmm.
The good and the bad about the internet and the way we communicate in 2025 is you will always find more. I think maybe I told this story a few podcasts ago, but my oldest son and I, we do basketball. I love basketball, played basketball, and so does he. And he is committed that he wants to play at a very high level. And so some of that comes through a lot of just training. And the basketball world has a ton of people that train. And so we looked at some of these trainings, and I do some with him. We have a trainer, and then we got some other courses online. I think it's kind of the natural thing we all do. We all go get some courses or we watch some YouTube videos.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start to do it, and you're like, well, that one video had this one thing, and that looked really cool. It's like, well, maybe we should have done that video. And so you go look at it again, and you're like, oh, well, we already spent the money on the first one, but this one looks really great. And I had to stop myself in doing that because I'm just technique jumping. It's like, stick to the first video. Like in this particular instance, this person trains NBA players. If he can train NBA players and get them from A to Z, then he can help my son get better. And it's just like, stick to the plan. We've already committed. Let's move forward and not start over again.
So you just said something that kind of jumped out at me. So when I had my own real estate media business, I found a technique that worked for me. It was coffee meetings. I like the one-on-one relationship building. I'm an introvert, blah, blah, blah. But I did kind of build it into a plan where it was ongoing. I was constantly looking for new clients, getting referrals. There was a method and a technique. But the one thing I didn't think about was what is this technique costing me?
Mm-hmm.
And what you just said was, finding a video online and the money that you paid for it. So I think what we can kind of dive down into in technique versus system is the cost of that technique or the cost of acquiring a new client. And admittedly, I had more the mentality of a boutique real estate photography company. I wasn't thinking scaling. But if you're going to think scaling your business, you've got to think about the cost of acquiring new clients, correct?
For sure. And this is a common thing. I listen to Alex Hermosi. I think I just connect with the way he teaches. I like, he's very straightforward. This is not an Alex Hermosi thing. Like if you watch anything business, Shark Tank, I love Shark Tank, it's talked about there, but there's this idea of what is your customer acquisition cost? They call it CAC, CAC, customer acquisition cost. And that is, what does it cost to get a new customer? Okay, so let's keep this very simple. I'll use the same example that Alex Hermosi used in his podcast. He basically said he had this gym launch item where he had this offer to people, and it cost him $5 to get someone to look at his offer. Okay. It took 5 people to look at the offer for one of them to say yes. Okay. So if one person says yes, he spent $5, had to get 5 people. 5 times 5 is 25. His customer acquisition cost was $25 to get one person to say yes. Now, I will say that this is a little bit different because I'm not saying that you all should just go and pour a ton of money into online marketing. We do it. We can talk about it. It's part of the overall method and strategy, but we are a relationship business. If you've listened to us before, we say it every week, probably 100 times about building relationships with your client. And the important thing that I want you to understand is tracking your customer acquisition cost is important, but the first step is committing to doing that, committing to spending the time with your clients. I think so. Craig, let's just go back to your example of the coffee meetings. So the coffee meetings, you would get people to show, sometimes not. I'm sure that's not the point I want to make, but people would say yes eventually.
Mm-hmm.
And then that would yield more shoots. So you
That
would
was the
go out
goal.
and that's the goal. So you would go out and do those shoots. And then you got very busy, correct?
Yeah, extremely busy to the point
What happened to those coffee meetings when you were extremely busy?
that they dropped off. I didn't have time for them.
Yeah. And rightfully so, right? I mean, you had to service the client.
Mm-hmm.
But how many more clients said yes to you when you weren't doing those coffee meetings?
Zero, because I wasn't out there consistently prospecting that new business and developing those new relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's a fine line in the sand. And I'm not saying one way's right or the other. Craig had different goals than what I had. But if you're listening to us today and you're saying, hey, why was my July not up 20% from last July? Why did I not have my best month ever? Why have I felt like I've plateaued? Or even if you have had your best month ever, great, exciting. How do you make next month your best month ever? If you're listening and you have that idea, then this consistency becomes very important. But I think it's good for us to come back to take a step back and understand your goals when you started your business, Craig. So your goals as a photographer, was it to have 20 photographers, or what was your goal? What was in your brain at that time?
Yeah. Boy, there's a whole story behind that, and I don't want to drag it out too long, but I wanted for myself a mix of both creating something with my hands, because I really respect tradespeople, electricians, carpenters, pipe fitters, whatever. I really respect those people because I don't have that talent in most areas. But I saw the practicality of the skills that they had in providing something of value to others. And I literally prayed. The start of my real estate industry or real estate media business was actually the result of prayer. I'm just going to put that out there. And it was, God, would you give me the ability to create something with my hands that's of value to somebody else that I can sell with a clear conscience, knowing that this is an actual need. I'm not trying to hawk something to somebody that might not be needed and that I can provide for my family with. And so my approach to it was, I had just come from a management position and realized that I don't necessarily always enjoy having to manage people. I would rather personally do the work of the creation, and work shoulder to shoulder with people rather than lead them as an out front manager, leader, however you want to state that. So my mentality in my business was I want a mix of both owning the company but also doing a majority of the work, the actual creation of the media, because I love media. That's been my background. So I kind of capped myself in terms of growth, versus your mentality of growing a business and trying to get as many shoots as possible. My goal was different. So I thought about things differently.
Yeah. And in comparison, if you haven't heard us before, My mentality was completely different. Craig is by far a much better human being than me.
Oh,
So
come
on
on.
the flip side, my mentality was I wanted to do as many shoots as possible because I wanted to make as much money as possible. And then I wanted to figure out a way to have to not do anything. Okay. I am naturally a lazy person. How can I build this to do as much as possible? And I don't mind grinding it out. There's a difference. I will grind, like I'll push. I have no problem pushing. But then how can I not push anymore? And how can I get that thing running so that not only it makes me money, but continues to make me more money? And that was honestly something that I struggled with from a human perspective for a lot of years. Like, why am I so driven by money? And then I had some close people to me. We were in a small group and they said, well, no, it's not that if you covet money, money's a problem. But then what are you doing with that money? And then I saw how we could, and I didn't know this at first, I saw how I could use that money and growth to bring people up underneath me and get them to reach their goals. It's been nothing more fabulous than helping people connect dots and finding win-wins throughout life. Craig, you and I came up with what's a great win-win, right? With your story.
Yeah. Yeah. So when I first started my business, I was doing everything by myself, the shooting, the scheduling, the sales, even the editing. And I realized very quickly, I can't make a living out of this doing 2 shoots a day because that's all I have time for because I have to go home and now edit. And Todd and I connected and talked about the system, Spiro, the software system and outsourcing editing that would allow me to scale, still doing most of the work myself, but scale in terms of the number of shoots. And I forget exactly what your question was, Todd.
Yeah, just the win-win as to where, like,
oh yeah,
you help beta test us and give us feedback.
Right. And it allowed me to then build my business to the point where I could support my family and enjoy the work that I was doing because I still get to do the creative. And now, even in the role that I have at WOW, I'm still kind of in that same type of mentality where I still get to go out and shoot and build the business in the market that I'm responsible for. So I still get to do the same thing, and it works out because now I'm teamed up with WOW Video Tours that handles a lot of that business and systems type of approach that I just wasn't able to do and didn't have as much interest in. So it's been a fantastic relationship. So Todd's mentality of helping bring people up in their dreams and aspirations, and then my personal goals of being basically a tradesperson, creating with my hands, but also the challenge of the relationship building, which I really enjoy doing as well. It's been a perfect match. So 2 different mentalities, but synchronous in helping each other and like you said, Todd, making a win-win.
Yeah. So Craig, let's take the path of wanting to grow and scale a business just for this the rest of this conversation.
Right.
And again, I'm not saying there's nothing wrong. If you're a boutique photographer out there, I honestly envy you a bit. I would love to take that boutique feel and take something, create a luxury feel around it and sell it for a very high value. That's not, I just haven't figured that out. It's like, I want to do 14,000 of them and I want to give and I'm a much lower value. Okay. That's the game that I play. If you're playing the other game, honestly, kudos to you. As long as you're reaching your goals and that is what you want to do, that's what's important, that your business is serving you.
Right.
But let's take the other approach of, we've set this up a bit of understanding like, hey, let's not technique jump. We have to come up with a method. And some of that we introduce customer acquisition cost. I want to go back to Alex Hermosi, and I'll give you a couple quotes here. And I think they at least resonated with me. He said, the best model will win, not the best method. Methods always expire. Models last forever.
Okay.
So I read that a couple. Yeah, I read that a couple times. I was like, let me think about that.
Yeah. What's the difference between a model and a method? Couldn't a method be a model?
Well, a model is basically just, in my opinion, a collection of methods, and there's consistency behind that.
Okay.
So an example here, a very simple example that we used already, is the idea of the coffee shop acquisition technique.
Right.
That was a bit, and I'll say this carefully, I don't mean anything by it, but it was more reactive for you, Craig, because it's like, when I have time,
yes,
I'm going to do this technique of acquiring clients. And then it would work. Clients would come in, you didn't have time to do it. And then there became another point in time where it's like, well, I need to have more people call my phone, hit my booking page. So it's like, well, let me go back to the thing that I did before and let me set these meetings. Is that fair, Craig?
Totally. It wasn't a consistent model because it was seasonal. When I was busy shooting, I couldn't invest the time and money into those meetings. And so, yeah, it kind of ebbs and flows.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I love one thing that you said there, Craig, because this is the big difference. Invest the money into that. I think that's so key. So Alex also says, the question really is, can you afford to get more customers than your competition can?
That's an interesting take.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't, yeah. Okay. So how do you play that out? You set up a budget? Yeah.
So it's a great question, Craig. I took a leap of faith many years ago at WOW, where I went through the progression of doing everything myself, hiring some photographers and doing all the admin work myself, became overwhelmed, hired an admin. She helped a lot. Then I grew the company and there was bigger things I needed help with. I hired a helper. We talked about that in I talked about that on a YouTube live with Eli Jones, that my first main hire was a helper to take things off my plate, a lot of billing and some technical things. And then I put on the builder hat and I built the company. I sold a ton of broker deals. I stumbled into this stupid knack of being able to sell these broker deals, and it exploded the company. And I got really busy. I ran on that. And then the company was big enough that I was pulled 15 other directions. I didn't know how to say no to things. But I knew I needed help. And I was willing, reluctantly, to invest some of the little money I'd made to that point. Still wasn't making, we were paying our bills, but it still wasn't like this thing's just printing money. So I hired on a head of sales to focus on sales. So I think that's the big difference. When I've hired on Shannon, and Shannon's at Spiro now doing the same thing with me with Spiro. We hit this we didn't really hit a plateau in Spiro. It's neither here nor there. But I wanted to take a higher trajectory curve on a hockey stick going up in growth. I'd done it before with Shannon. Past is a good prediction of the future. Like, hey, she helped me blow up WOW Video Tours, like scale blow up, not blow up. And I wanted to do the same with the next company. So it's just this repeatable process. But at the end of the day, I knew I was going to have to spend money to make money.
Yes, that's what in a much more simplified example, I'm fiscally conservative, other than hobbies, where I spend too much money on hobbies sometimes. a little transparency there.
We'll have a confession at the end of the podcast, right, Craig, for that.
If you could see the amount of ham radio stuff anyway. No, when I first started my business, I was looking, okay, I know I need to get a drone at some point because drone is becoming a thing. But for me, buying a drone was a lot of money. And I'm like, I don't know if I can afford to spend that money. But I bit the bullet. I bought the drone. And then I very quickly realized, after booking a number of jobs with drone as an add-on, that this was paying for itself a lot more quickly than I expected. And that exact thing that you just said, I had to spend money to make money. And then after that drone was paid for, after a certain number of shoots, that was pure profit, So it's the same with our business system. Yeah, you're spending money to build your sales process, but you have to look at the cost. Don't you have to look at the cost of investing in that system versus then say the lifetime value of that client? Is that something
Yes,
Alex goes into?
it is. Yes. And I'm so happy you said that because those are the two big things. He said that's the lifeblood of a business. What does it cost to acquire a customer and
Mm-hmm.
what do they bring into you? Okay. And these are the customer acquisition costs and lifetime value. This is something that we measure at WOW, and this is something that we know. And we
Mm-hmm.
haven't actually done this forever. So if you're like, Todd, I have no clue where to start, I'm going to help you out and help you understand where to start. And don't feel bad if you're like, not right now, because we somewhat in the recent past have started doing this and measuring this. But let's break it down real quick, just so we're on the same page. We talked about customer acquisition cost. In his example, he says that he had to spend $5 to get one person to look at his product. It took 5 people to look at the product for one to say yes. Okay, so $25 to get one yes. That one yes then spent $500 with him. Okay, and now it wasn't all profit. He had a high margin. It cost him $100, and he had a margin, or he profited $400 on that one yes. Okay, so customer acquisition cost was $25. Lifetime value, and let's just say the client only buys once for the sense of this example, but the lifetime value would be 400. So the idea there is, will you spend $25 to make 400? Yes, every day of the week and even on
Mm-hmm.
Sunday, and I'll do it 1,000 times a day. You know, my oldest brother, he always has this. He was in sales, and he was great at it. And like, would you spend $1 to make $2? Yes, every day of the week. I mean, I'd spend $1 to make $1.50 to make $1.25. As long as you're spending money to make money, you're good. Generally, let's don't dive into that too much. Other than the fact that I'm trying to make the point that you are going to have to spend money, and the goal is to get more money back out. And that's essentially what we did with the sales team. I had no clue I was doing it at the beginning. It was honestly very nerve-wracking for me to make that hire. The company was still small. We were doing, I think, probably about 4,000 shoots a year, a low average order value. And I was bringing on a large salary of a person. And it was a big commit. It was scary to me. And I know I talked to a lot of you out there, and you're like, should I hire the VA? Should I hire the photographer? Should I hire the admin? I think, and I encourage you guys have this owner intuition. You all have it. Your left brain just beats it down so much that sometimes you just have to pull the trigger and say yes. Because the better question is, can you afford not to?
Not to, yeah. Yeah. Well, that kind of relates to what we talked a little bit about last week, the catch 22 of when you do say have a down month, you're tempted to cut your marketing budget because there's not a tangible necessarily, especially if you're not looking at the numbers. You're tempted to cut that marketing budget, which then gets you less views or less exposure, and less exposure means less jobs, and you get in this downward cycle.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't Alex have some sort of quote about marketing budget and getting past even the idea of a marketing budget?
Yeah, he did it in that podcast. He talked about. He said the only people who talk about marketing budgets are people who aren't good marketers.
Oh,
Yeah, the
ouch.
marketing budget is spend as much as you possibly can, and then wait till something else in your business breaks.
Hmm. Okay. Explain that a little bit more. I need more
So
caffeine,
yeah.
evidently.
So my take on it is, if you can have a positive customer acquisition cost lifetime value ratio,
Mm-hmm.
meaning that it costs less to acquire a customer than what you're going to profit and make on that customer, you should infinitely spend into the customer acquisition bucket, because you're always going to be making money. The ratio is positive.
Mm.
And then
Okay.
I love that he adds in until something else in your business breaks. So let's
What's that part?
Yeah. So what that means is I hired Shannon on, and she built a sales program, a sales engine for us that ran, and she was running it, and she hired people into it. And we started getting people to say yes. Imagine that, right? Come up with some processes, and you build this plan, and people say yes. You know what the next problem was? We had to service those yeses.
Yeah, I was going to say having enough people to do those jobs.
Right. Okay. Well, we are out of inventory, if you will. What did we need? Well, we needed more photographers. That was the pinch point. She brought the answer to me. Hey, Todd, you need to bring this person off the field so that he can train all of the new photographers we're going to need, because I have people saying yes. Okay. Slowed everything down. Boom, did it. I didn't think about it. It was scary. I was getting a little bit better at not thinking as much about these scary things. And you will too. You'll analyze it, you'll overthink it, you'll think no, 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 no. Something in you eventually gets you to say yes. Hopefully, that's the goal. You say yes and you see what that did. It was positive for me. The next time a suggestion like that for growth was brought to me, I analyzed the information. You always should as the business owner. I didn't overthink it. The past was a good prediction of the future. It worked last time. We brought high-level people in. We executed a method and a plan, and we got more business and we made more money. So the more you do that, the easier it gets. I was sweating. I was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And thank goodness Shannon was such a good salesperson that she sold me on the idea of hiring her. Like, I feel bad. Like, the amount of pitching she had to pitch me on my company to grow with her was crazy if I think about it. But that's that flow you'll get into, and that will be easier. And back to his quote, then, something broke, we fixed it, and then we poured more money into it so that we could grow. Something else broke, needed admins, needed the schedule. Hey, we had to write a scheduling software. And then we kept doing that consistently over the years. We still do that to this day. 2022, 23, end of 22 throughout 23, worst year ever. We said no to a lot of things. We cut a lot of things. We talked about this last week, so I won't harp on it, but we did not cut any sales and marketing. We spent just as much, if not more, because you can't turn off your sales engine if you want to grow. Again, core value number 5, think growth. How can I say cut the sales team? It would have made the year much better, but I'm literally cutting off my ability to grow.
Yeah, what's happened, even if you say you have a down market, Todd, where there's less inventory to shoot, which we've experienced, if you continue to invest in your sales system versus an individual marketing technique, you're going to capture what we've talked about before is you're going to capture more of that market. And so even if your total number of shoots is down, you have a higher market share, which when the market bounces back and you've maintained those relationships, you're going to be to the plus. So yeah, you might be down in terms of actual number of shoots, but you're up in your market share. And then when the market recovers, you're that much further ahead during that next cycle.
Yeah. And that's how you're able to say, and everything lined up in that synopsis that Craig gave, that we can say July of 25 was our best month ever after 22 years.
Right.
And it beat the previous month, which was the best month ever. So Craig, let's get more. Okay, so we covered the high level. Let's get down to the nuts and bolts of this. And I want to try to just break it, because this can be overwhelming, because we've talked about some big topics and the idea of a sales manager, then a training manager, and then a head of training, and then a director, coach, and all this stuff. It gets to be overwhelming. Mm-hmm. We have to start somewhere. And that's the important thing, is you have to start somewhere. Craig, you had a great technique of the coffee meetings. Mm-hmm. What would just be a simple change that if you were on my strategy of wanting to grow to infinite or grow to, large goals and not be a boutique, what would be the simple change of in the coffee technique meeting?
Well, for me, it would be investing in another photographer to take on more of those shoots and free up my time
Yeah.
to 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 sell more or work more on the business rather than in the business, as you've said before.
Yeah. So it's just a simple thing of protecting your time to make sure that you put that on your calendar and nothing gets booked over that. That 1 hour, once a week, whatever it may be, is on your calendar because you can't shut that engine off. And in the weeks where you have it where no one shows up, you can't turn it off for the next week because you feel bad no one showed up. Okay. Don't spend your time at the coffee shop looking for new techniques and not do the technique that has proven that it can work in the past. Look for ways to make it better. You're always going to have to pivot. You're always going to have to look to improve. We do it every day at WOW. We analyze what we do, but we do not jump from one thing to the next, to the next, to the next.
Right. Would it be fair to say, though, that you can employ techniques just as a part of an overall strategy? It's not about the technique necessarily, but you're executing different techniques just as an ongoing strategy to engage your clients and new clients?
Oh, for sure. I think it's as simple as that, Craig. I really do. I think when you put that with consistency, that's how you get your method.
Fair enough.
And then consistency means I do it, but you do the technique, but then you have to measure it as well.
Right.
And through that measurement, when a technique needs to be more efficient or convert more, how can I help this technique convert more? How is it a top of funnel thing? Is it a bottom of funnel thing? Meaning, do I need to get more people to know about my coffee meeting? Or am I just not really building good enough relationships with people at the coffee meeting to get them to say yes? Or maybe my offering's not as good, or, there's many different ways, but we would analyze that top of funnel, bottom of funnel, and how can we get more people to say yes? And we would pivot. And then when a technique grew old, we would go into the next thing. But I can tell you we're still using the same techniques that we've used forever. They look a lot different. They feel different, but it's what we've done when I was selling.
Okay, Todd. So this can sound a little overwhelming, just this big picture stuff for, currently a solo operator. So what would be the first tangible steps then that someone can take that's listening right now from moving from techniques to strategy?
Yeah. One, analyze what techniques you're currently doing.
Okay.
Even if you're like, hey, I'm not using a technique, you probably are. When are you talking to real estate agents? Okay, that's a technique. And I want you to start with that technique because that's what you're comfortable with.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say use these techniques because if they don't align with what you're comfortable with, I'm never going to get you consistent with doing these techniques. And that's a strategy that we use with the sales team at WOW. We understand how they like to sell. Some of them love to call. Some of them love to stop by. Some of them love to hold events.
Yes.
And then some of them go, oh, man, I could never hold the event. Or the one that holds the events, like I could never build individuals with these people because I like a big group. Be comfortable with what you are comfortable with. That's how you're going to be consistent with it. If you hate cold calling, and everybody in the world hates cold calling. If you try to force yourself into cold calling, you're going to do this for 2 days and it's going to be so uncomfortable that there's going to be a shiny object and you're going to go do that in your business. It's probably going to be QC photos.
Mm-hmm.
So one, analyze what techniques you're using right now. 2, stick with that technique, okay? And let's measure some time. So whatever that technique is, let's go back to Craig's coffee meeting technique, okay? Are you doing that once a week? All right. What time are you spending on it? You're probably spending a little bit of time to post to let people know you're there, advertising that coffee meeting. Then your time to get to the coffee meeting. You have costs involved in buying some coffee, and then any follow-up that you do about the coffee meeting. Just track that time. Okay.
Mhm.
Time tracking. I'm doing it right now. I'm doing it with a lot of y'all. I've done it for the last 2 weeks.
And we've done episodes in the past on the importance of time tracking.
Yes. So track that time, and that is the time that you're spending acquiring customers. All right. So to get customer acquisition cost, we just need to know put a value on that. Okay. So if you say there's 3 hours weekly for your coffee meeting, say it's $50 an hour is what you're paying yourself. Okay. You'd probably, if you're going to hire someone, you're probably going to pay them maybe $50 an hour or less to do this. So it's a fair estimate. Okay. So for $150 a week, you had that coffee meeting 4 times a month. That's $600. Okay. And say that gets you just one client to be simple with this equation. At that point, then you spent $600 and mainly of your time, but let's assume you're going to put someone in that place, $600 to get one client. Okay. Now, what does a client on average spend with you? All right. So this is what you have to understand what your lifetime value is as a client. Typically, our clients at WOW, they do like 5.3 shoots a year with us, our average client. Okay. 5.3 shoots times your average order value. Okay. 260, 300, whatever it is. Some of you have $1,000 average order. That's great. Multiply that together, and that's what you're going to make off them in a year. Just to keep things simple, I would just take that yearly number right now and know that clients stay with you longer than 1 year, but at least you have an idea. It costs you $600 to get this client on average. In the next 12 months that they're with you, they're going to do 5 shoots at, say, $200 for easy math. That's $1,200. No, 5 shoots, I said, times 200.
Right.
$1,000. Yeah.
Right.
Sorry, my math wasn't mathing. Okay. $1,000 you're going to make off that client. It costs you $600 to get them. Now you have to figure out your cost of goods, but at least you have these ratios here. Okay. So take out your cost of goods and what do you make on that? But at least we're starting some point. We know what a customer acquisition cost is. We have an idea of what a lifetime value is, or at least a yearly value. And then from there, what we can do is we can begin to do that more. Okay. So what's the next technique? Can you make that technique better? Can you convert more? Can you get more people to your coffee meeting? Okay. If not, then what's the next thing you can do? I've challenged you all to have 5 meaningful conversations 4 times a week. That's another technique again, but when you couple consistency with techniques, that's how you get these systems and you build your sales engine. Okay. Have 5 meaningful 2-minute conversations with clients a week. Super simple. That's 1 hour a day, 4 times a week. That's 4 hours, $50. That's $200 to do that customer acquisition. How many can you get to say yes from those conversations? How many clients do you acquire? That's going to get you the top line data of understanding your customer acquisition cost and how we're going to get to a very rough lifetime value.
Okay, Todd. So I think the overarching point that we've been kind of hammering home is stop asking what's the trick to get clients, what's the method, and there's 20 bazillion different methods that we've talked about and others have talked about, and start asking, how can I build a repeatable system, a repeatable, system's the best word I can think of to acquire clients.
Yeah. And the idea of that, it sounds maybe too technical to a lot of you. System, like how do I build a system? It seems like I need to know how to write code. You don't. At the end of the day, pick 1-2 things that you are comfortable with that are helping you acquire clients, and then be consistent with them. That is how you build your system. And all the while you're doing those techniques, you remember that this is just your next best draft. So you don't feel like those techniques have to be perfect. You're going to gain the most by just consistently doing them. We can always make them better. We can always understand more metrics about them. I'm sorry if I overloaded you on some of these metrics today. If you're not doing anything, the next best step is to do something consistently. And when you do that, what you focus on will expand. You'll eventually say, hey, yeah, I actually am doing this technique. And I have an idea, or I've stumbled into this, or a client suggested that I do this thing, or they invited me to a brokerage meeting. Boom, there's your new technique. Have technique 1 lead to technique 2. Coffee meetings to brokerage meetings. Those lead to building relationships, leads to brokerage deals. It leads to you building out your system. But consistency is honestly the thing that you have to start with.
Right. And having the courage to spend the money to invest in those systems to help them grow and continue to build your business.
Right. And just my mindset has shifted throughout the years. I was very hesitant to put the money in to build sales. Fast forward a decade later, I'm like, how can we put as much money as possible into it? Because you have to spend it to make it. And I know that through the consistency of what we learn to build our sales engine, that makes us money. And I hate even saying this, but in year 22, I'm making more money than I ever thought I would make. And I only say that to motivate you because I'm less focused on money now. And I think that's one reason why. But if you want to grow, you have to have money. You have to put money into your business. And it's going to take you somewhere that you never thought was possible. I never thought it was possible. I looked at the numbers last year. I had our accountant double check the numbers. I'm like, no, this doesn't. Can we clean these one more time? I did it again this year. I'm like, can you make sure that this net is correct? It's like, yeah, I've gone through it already. So if you want to get to that point, just be consistent. You got to take some risk. You're going to get lucky along the way, but the consistency will push you through.
Yeah. And for those of you that are very much growth minded and building a large business, taking Todd's tack of investing in employees and contractors to help you build that business, you're investing in people. Todd's mindset has allowed me to do what I love. My personal goals are not the same as Todd's, but his mindset has allowed me to really enjoy the work I do every day in both the shooting and the business development that will continue to help me then grow my market and allow somebody else to also be able to take care of their family. There's just, think about your why, in implementing all of this, and that'll give you some really good meaning into your day-to-day work. You'll wake up with a reason to continue to do what you do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thanks for that perspective, Craig.
Yeah. Well, that's been a great episode and caused me to think a little bit more because, I'm out there doing business development as well. So it's challenged me. I hope it's challenged you as well, guys, and ladies, just to think about your why, think about your systems and not getting caught in the trap of just a method. Methods will come and go, but consistency will drive your business. So, Todd, anything else? Any closing thoughts from you?
Craig, I think that sums it up really well. I do want to just pivot here really quickly at this last little bit of the podcast. And I don't know how many you're still on with us, but we have an event that we are planning, y'all. Craig, we had this harebrained idea of doing what we are calling the Spiro Summit, where we all get together and, as a community to grow. And we had enough of you actually say, hey, are you going to do that? And you consistently said, hey, are you going to do that? That we are about 95% sure we're going to do it. So we're going to do it in early 2026. We're looking at the third week in January. This is called the Spiro Sync. It's where we're going to gather. We're going to grow. We're going to take time to take a breath. And there'll be more information about it. It's going to be here in Ohio. It's going to be cold, y'all. We'll probably have a snowball fight and build snowmen. But I'm excited about it. We're planning it around, more information to come about it. If you're still listening to this and that seems like it'd be interesting, if you come out to the cornfields of Ohio, let us know. Send me a quick message, just the pink chat bubble or hello@spiro.media. Be like, Spiro Sync sounds good. Want more information. We will keep you in the loop. We're planning this just not as business owners. We're looking to have you bring your other key person. Bring your admin that's helping you grow. If you have a salesperson, bring your salesperson. We're going to have all types of segments, the team from WOW, the team from Spiro there, and we're going to connect. We're even going to do something online with your VAs. Our VAs connect with your VAs. We just build this community. It's important to us because we know what it's like to be out there on the island. It's lonely at the top. We want to connect with you. We want to bring you together, the community, and we'll make sure the heat's on for you the third week of January here in Ohio.
You know, Todd, just a quick squirrel moment here. You said we always talk about the fields of Northwest Ohio, the cornfields. Some week, while it's still warm, I don't want to do this when it's cold. We need to take our podcast outside out in the cornfield there at the WOW office. And in my backyard, I'm right next to a soybean field, so I could have the soybean field. We just need to show you guys, we're serious. We're in the middle of these farm fields.
Craig, I love that idea. I actually think in the field behind me, there's just an area that always gets really saturated with water that doesn't grow corn or grow soybeans if it's that year. I'm gonna push the desk out there. I'm gonna have corn. I love that. Let's see I'm gonna fly the drone up there and see if there's that dead spot this year.
There you go. Anyway, all right. That's going to wrap things up for this week. Guys, we appreciate you again. I know I say this a lot, but we really do appreciate the time you take out, especially during busy season, if it's busy season where you're at right now, to either watch the podcast or listen, especially when you share it with others. We really appreciate that. The likes and the shares just help us to be able to invest more in other real estate media businesses and help them grow. So thank you for that. We're honored and humbled by it, and just want to say thank you. Make sure you take time this week to be thankful for the things that you've been blessed with in your life. Think about your why, because that will continue to drive you, and make sure you take a breath this week. You have a great week. Take care.
Thank you for joining us for the Spiro Podcast, Managing Your Real Estate Photography and Videography Business. This is a production of Spiro and WOW Video Tours. You can find out more about Spiro's real estate media business management software at our website, spiro.media.